Hi, so in this video I'm going to give you a variety of different lighting conditions and settings that produced all of these videos and also pictures at the end. So here you'll see this is a 720p and the lighting setting is a overcast day. So you'll see the colors came out pretty crisp, but you'll notice that the image itself is kind of jittery because none of these phones, or at least these lower end phones, do not have image stabilization, so there's going to be some motion blur and jitteriness just from me walking around and moving the camera a little bit too much. Now this is the same version of the first video, obviously taken a different video, but this is the 1080p. So you'll notice the images are a little bit more sharp, a little bit more crisper, there's a little bit more detail to it. And all of these videos I'm taking is 28 frames per second, so they're pretty close to 30 frames. Now this next shoot is demonstrating some of the motion. So you'll see there's cars moving at probably somewhere around 30 miles an hour, and my elbows are resting on a platform, so you'll see there is no jitteriness in this case. So the next setting here is a situation where you're in a garage and there's actually a lot of light in the background, but the foreground itself is really dark. So here you'll notice when I'm moving the camera, it actually adjusts the lighting and it brightens things up. And again, this is an outdoor setting, so it's able to do this. You'll see this effect later on in some of my indoor videos. You'll notice here, once again, there's issues with shadows. So this is sort of, you'll notice it's a very brightly lit day, but there's a good amount of shadow, and so there's a discrepancy between the lighting from the top being very bright and the bottom being dark, and the image doesn't come out right. And you'll see again the situation here is, now the light didn't change here, it's just a matter of me sort of moving the camera so that there isn't such a big discrepancy in the lighting, and you'll notice the sensor itself is able to detect it and make things very clear. And once again, if I move up and then there's too much lighting in comparison to other areas, it gets dark again. Now this is a indoor, so I finally have some indoor shoots, and you'll notice this is a relatively bright day, but once again there's a light that comes through the windows, and you'll see that it gets washed out a little bit because of that. And once again, the lighting sensor will adjust here. So this is the same setting at night, and you'll notice I have a light in the background in addition to Christmas lights at the top, 200 Christmas lights. So you'll see this isn't really the best picture, but this is an indoor view of how the light sensor handles this. Like once again, washed out a little bit and not as clear. And in the next setting here is I turn off the light and I'm relying solely on Christmas lights. So this is just the Christmas lights, and in person it's still, you could still see the area very bright, but coming from the camera's point of view, it can't see anything. So here is a outdoors. This is a very sunny day, and you notice even in a very sunny day, it washes out a lot of the colors. So you can't see. It has like a really bright background in the floors and in the sky, but in the foreground where you have people and objects, it actually seems to wash that out into a darker color. And this is another setting where it's a little bit better. It's still a very bright sunny day, and it seems to get the colors a little bit better here. But all in all, this camera is what you would expect in a low budget camera. I mean, you can't expect the Samsung camera or the iPhone camera, spending $100. But I would say, in comparison to all the other budget phones here, you get a pretty decent camera, and it is fairly usable. So now these following sections is more the pictures. So I took all of these in 5 megapixels simply because you know, it doesn't matter if I took 13 megapixel, it's not going to show up on a 1080p screen here. So these are basically pictures of the settings that I had in the videos, and you could see how in this case it handles the lighting by making the lighting sort of contrast a little bit better. Even though the setting is really dark, it compensates and it makes things a little bit brighter. Again, this is the same scene, and you'll notice just moving the cameras. Now the light didn't change at all in person, but the camera sensor picks up different light as I move the camera to avoid too much of a discrepancy between the lighting in the foreground and background. And this is an indoor picture here. So, but all in all, it's an overall good picture, and I hope it helps you decide whether this camera is decent or not. And thank you for watching.